Okay, guys, Chris here. We got a great lesson today. This is one I wish that I got a long time ago. Um, it's really going to help any of you singer-songwriters out there or hard rock guitar guys that want to put together, songs and you don't really know exactly what to do or where to start. Maybe you're having trouble writing your own stuff. So one thing to keep in mind is that every chord progression been written before guitar even hit the scene. That you might not understand until you get into deeper theory, but that's okay for now. What do we do with these progressions? For one thing, you want to know your major scale, right? Because your major scale is going to tell you what number, the number system, right? We're going to be using the Nashville number system. They call it a lot, or it's just knowing the number of your chords, whether you're starting on the 1 chord, the 4, the 5, or the 2, and that's easy to do. And we could start with knowing this right away just by our major scale, right? I'll start in G here, right? So you got do, re, mi, right? So that's 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, 4, 5. Or if you're not good at stretching your fingers yet, you can do it this way, which would be 3, 5, then 2, 3, 5, then 2, 4, 5. And that's the same exact notes that I just did here. It's just closer together. All right, it's just a different way of doing it. That's doing it, in one octave both ways. Same thing. Now the reason you want to know that is because then that'll tell you the number that the chords are, right? So everybody's pretty much hopefully kind of heard of like a 1-4-5, which is your standard like blues progression, right? Like a right? So that's a 1-4-5 because it's starting on the 1 chord, and you can pick where the 1 chord is, whatever key you want to be in. So the one was an A, for example, because I'm starting on A. The 5th fret on the top string is A. If I make a power chord here, and then I go down to the one below it, that would be 4. Now, why is that 4 if you don't know? Because from this note right here, A, the first note, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And the next one would be 5, right? So we're going 1, 4, 5, right? So that's the first thing to kind of understand, okay? And if you have to, pause it and rewind, and really make sure you have that down. You understand that the intervals that they're called, the space between the notes, right? This 1, 4, and 5, those are all, intervals we're talking about. That's what this number system is, numbering, basically. So there's tons of popular chord progressions on guitar, right? So one you hear a lot in like pop music or country music and rock music, 1, 5, 6, 4, right? And that would be like say if we're starting in G here, I'm using the G as our tonic or as our 1. So G, G, D, right? E minor, then C. And I'm sure you could already picture songs that you've heard written like this, right? So the Leonard Skinner has got a song like that. All I Can Do Is Write About It, right? You ever see a she-getter protect a youngin', or a fish in a river swimming free? And what he does is alternate it right there and take out the E minor, and he goes straight to C, right? So he'd be taking out that minor the 6th chord, right? So because G would be the 1, then D would be the 5, right? Because from G, your 5th or your power chord finger is D. So you got G, right? D. Then you got E minor, which would be the 6th, your minor 6th, right? And then C, which would be your fourth, right? So you'd have 1, 5, 6, 4, right? And now you can do that in other keys, right? So if you were just to slide that up, right? Like you'd be like A. Here it's got that, it's the same sound, it's just I played it a step higher. Okay, so that would still be a 1, 5, 6, 4, right? And that, now you don't have to always just do it that way. So say if you want to get more creative with it, right, you can you know, skip ones in the progression, like take out that minor 6 one time. And you can pick it differently instead of just doing major chords. So say like we want to rock out doing it, right? So we could start on our G. We'll keep it in G here, right? The first one, right? Okay, right? So you could do something like that, but you could also, you know, have your drummer or have the tempo off a little differently, so you spend time differently on each chord, right? So instead of doing it how I was doing it, like G, right? D, E minor, then C, right? You can spend a whole bunch of time on G, right? Just like... So you see what I mean? You don't have to, that's where the creativity can really come in to a progression that's already been written, like the 1, 5, 6, 4, you know, which is very popular. You definitely want to know it as a guitar player because you're going to hear it in other songs if you're jamming with people, especially if you're playing any kind of pop, country, or classic rock songs. They're all over the place. There's no genre that doesn't touch this chord progression. So with that in mind, so say we like make up our own, you know, we'll stay in that key and we'll make up our own thing. I'll do it right here on camera, right on the spot. I didn't come up with this beforehand. We'll just see what I do, right? So if we do like a G, I'll go up to E, maybe, and then down to C. Right there, and that's what I'll do. And I did, instead of keeping it a power chord, I just did the octaves here. And I slid down to C, right? So we went all the way from going... right, to now we're playing this. All right, so, you know, you see the evolution of how you can make it your own progression off of something that, you know, everybody does this in writing. Especially chord progressions that like this that have been around forever and been used the hell out of. But I wanted to use this one particularly because it's so popular and, you know, you really do want to know it. But so I'll put this chord progression through the looper, and like, so since we're in G, I'll show you, like, now what we're going to do is try to, you know, improvise over it. All right, so I'll start with the progression. Hopefully you guys can hear it, right? Right, so now, how am I going to solo over this, right? Well, think we're in, we know G is our tonic, right? We got G, D, E, and C. So we're firmly in, you know, G major, right? So we can use you know, your G major scale all up and down the neck. Except, you know, you could, G major's relative, right, is E minor. If you don't know that. So by that, I mean, if we were at G here, right, or G here, and then you go back a minor third, that's going to be its relative minor. So if you're at a major chord, right, a G major up here, say, and then we go back 1, 2, 3 frets, that minor chord, you can use that minor pentatonic scale, right? Another way you can do this is also with the classic blues, right? When you're doing that and going up to that note, that is also the relative minor of the major chord you're in. So if you're on G major, right, but you're not good at soloing in major yet, because us rock guitar players slack off on the major soloing usually at first. But you can use E minor, right? And now if you're in a different key, say A, you would just slide this up, right? And now I know, oh, okay, what's this note? F sharp, or you don't even have to know the note, right? But I know my pentatonic scale is, you know, is that, right? And same with minor, right? F sharp again here, right? So I know I can use that scale, that minor pentatonic scale. Now you're just going to want to accentuate, instead of the F sharp, you know, the relative major, which would be A, right? But in our chord progression, we're in the key of G, right? So we're going to use E minor, you know, but we're going to not focus on E as much. You can, when that chord comes, you know, but that's a little more advanced than I want to get you into now. If you can do that, that's great, and do it. But otherwise, because both of those scales, the G major and E minor, both all have all the same notes in them. What makes them major or minor is more the context of what they're being played over and how it's being played. So, well, I'll play the progression now that we have written, right? And I'll just lead over it, right? All right, so now that we got our progression written, we're going to try to put a little solo over it. And I'll try to just stick with this for now, this the regular G major position. And, you know, you want to know where your root notes are, right? G, G, right? So we're going to highlight them, you know, when we can, to keep it kind of bringing it home, right? So here's our progression. All right, so you see how, you know, that's, you know, just a little thing I came up with real quick to go over it. But, you know, you can also use your other shapes and go up the neck with it, you know, as well, you know, like that. So right, so there's different a lot of ways, you know, you can play over it, you know, improvising it, you know, just try it out, especially having a looper pedal like I do. I just got the cheap Ditto looper, you know, and it works great. You can do up to like 5 minutes with it. But that's a great tool to have, because you can have the progressions playing in the background, and then you can try soloing over it and try even highlighting the notes maybe of the chord that you're playing over at that particular time. So when like the G comes up, you know, try to have that when you resolve to G. And then when the E comes up, try to have it when you just resolve to E. You know, and to do this properly, what you'll want to do is you'll want to like not focus on all of them at one time. So like just try to focus on just hitting the G when the progression comes around to G. And then after you have that down, then try another note, and then another note if you can, you know, but always start, you know, with one first, so it's less complex before you move on to the next one. Now, one little secret, if you don't know this, is all these popular progressions like the 1-5-6-4 or say a 2-5-1 jazz. They, you know, they're all online. You can look them up. You know, they've been around since like the dawn of music, right? So if you see here on my computer, I don't know if this kind of comes out right. It might look backwards, but this website just has all of the different chords with the Roman numerals on it. And you can look, you know, at those progressions and say if you're in a rut with writing, you know, look at it. And just because you start looking at one doesn't mean you're going to keep with it either, right? So you could start with like one progression, like a 1-5-6-4 in G, and then maybe you'll take a chord out or put a different chord in, and that'll be your own, right? So say like in the Leonard Skinner example, like they're using that same thing, that G, D, right? Then that E minor, that minor 6, they're taking that out on the second time. So the second time they go around, they're just going G, D, C. So if with our progression, if we were to take out the E or something like that, it would be like this, be like. This time we'll just go D, you just will want to fill in that extra space, so you see how I stayed on C a little longer, right? And that's a you know, great thing to do. These are all just writing tools that you know, you can use. You know, the more tools in your toolbox, you know, the better you're going to be at playing. And then you know, you'll see how, you know, people put together other songs. And then if you got other stuff that you write on your own, you might be surprised that you've already written a progression in one of these keys already, or one of these numerals already, and didn't even know it. So like and subscribe. I hope this helps out. Put anything in the comments if you have questions about anything, because I'll get back to you. You know, I'm a small channel, so I do this, you know, for fun and stuff. So yeah, just hit me up if you got any questions, and I'll definitely get back to you or make a video about whatever you want or don't understand. You know, I'm not the greatest teacher in the world, and I don't have the best equipment, but I sure as hell will try. So thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.